I'm a big admirer of Antoinette's work. She's a wonderful woman, she's a strong woman, she's an Aboriginal woman. She's done amazing things for women and for Aboriginal women in particular. She was born in Victoria on Wurundjeri country. Her grandfather and mother's line is through the Kuku-Yalangi people in North Queensland. She graduated from Deakin University in 2000, the Bachelor of Laws, was admitted to legal practice in 2004. She's a member of the Victorian Aboriginal Justice Forum, which is the peak coordinating body responsible for overseeing the development, implementation and direction of Koori initiatives under the Victorian Aboriginal Justice Agreement. The Indigenous Family Violence Partnership Forum, Attorney General Department's Family Law System Reference Group, as well as other committees and forums. So she's a woman who packs a lot of punch. She's the recipient of an Indigenous Community Justice Award and was shortlisted for the 2010 Law Institute of Victoria President's Award is much nicer than award, in the Access to Justice Award category. She is currently the National Convener of the newly established National Family Violence Prevention Legal Services Forum. Will you please warmly welcome Ms. Antoinette Bradlock.
God, that's made me nervous. Thank you for that introduction. Before I begin, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land we're gathering on today and pay my respects to elders past and present. It is indeed a privilege to be standing on Wurundjeri country. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank the conference organisers for inviting me to speak here today. It is important that Aboriginal women have a voice at such significant events. During my presentation, I may use Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander, or just Aboriginal, or even Koori. In Victoria, we call ourselves Kooris, just like Queenslanders call themselves Murris. I was born in Victoria, and I'm from Queensland, so I'm a Koori Murri. It is important for me to state my position very clearly at the outset to give some context to what I will be speaking about today. I'm extremely passionate about and committed to the work that we do. I acknowledge that some of the views I hold about family violence and sexual assault in our communities may not necessarily be held by other people in our community and the broader community. The experiences of Aboriginal women living in Victoria are different to the experiences of Aboriginal women living in other states and territories. The fact that I am Aboriginal does not make me an expert on every political issue impacting on our communities. So, I'm sorry, but I will not be talking about constitutional recognition today. Clearly, my area of expertise are in family violence. One-size-fits-all approaches often applied by governments to our communities are a proven failure. Today, I'll talk about the work that we do at the Aboriginal Family Violence Prevention and Legal Service. My presentation will focus on Aboriginal women and children as victims survivors of family violence and sexual assault, because more than 90% of our clients are Aboriginal women and children. The work that we do at the Aboriginal Family Violence Prevention Legal Service is informed and influenced by the fact that Aboriginal women continue to experience distrust and alienation from the legal system. The fact that Aboriginal women have been and continue to be subjected to discriminatory and racist policies and practices. For an Aboriginal woman today, she is 40 times more likely to be a victim of family violence than her non-Aboriginal sisters. She is 35 times more likely to be hospitalised due to family violence. Her children are 9 times more likely to be on care and protection orders and almost 10 times more likely to be in out-of-home care. And nationally, she is 21 times more likely to be imprisoned than her non-Aboriginal sisters. This is the reality of the lives of Aboriginal women today. Our organisation, the Aboriginal Family Violence Prevention and Legal Service Victoria, is one of 14 services funded nationally by the Commonwealth Attorney General's Department to service 31 rural and remote locations throughout Australia. The National Family Violence Prevention and Legal Service Program was established in recognition of the high rates of family violence in Aboriginal communities and the need for dedicated family violence services due to conflict of interest within Aboriginal legal services. We, like other family violence prevention and legal services, provide legal representation and support services to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander victim survivors of family violence and sexual assault. The areas of law that we cover are family violence law, so intervention orders, child protection, family law, and compensation for victims of crime. As well as employing lawyers, we also employ paralegal support workers to support our clients at court and to link them into other important services such as housing, health, and counselling. Earlier, I mentioned that the focus of the National Family Violence Prevention and Legal Service Program is on rural and remote locations. The funding guidelines restrict our service provision in urban areas. This restriction is a result of the Commonwealth Government policy initiated by the Howard Government and carried on by this government. All I can say to this is that they don't think any real Aboriginals live in urban areas in the cities. But I will say a bit more. Essentially, what this policy does is it discriminates against Aboriginal women and children living in urban areas. It denies Aboriginal women and children in urban areas the right to access culturally safe and sensitive legal services. And it provides a perfect example of how government continue to apply a one-size-fits-all approach. In Victoria, we have advocated strongly for funding from both the Commonwealth and state government for our organisation to be able to provide legal services and community legal education programs in urban areas. In Victoria, more than 50% of the Koori population live in the Melbourne metropolitan region. So we think this establishes a strong case to justify a review of the national policy, especially with respect to addressing family violence in our state. To date, we have not been successful in our efforts to influence the Commonwealth Government to change its policy in order for us to expand our services to cover urban areas and other regional areas that aren't covered by the Commonwealth funding and with high Koori populations. But we have been successful in securing limited term funding from the Victorian Government and Victoria Legal Aid and other sources to expand our service delivery and education programs to these areas. We have 3 regional offices. Each office is staffed by 1 lawyer and a paralegal support worker. These are all funded by the Commonwealth Attorney General's Department. Our Warrnambool office covers the entire Barwon South West region. Our Bairnsdale office covers the entire Gippsland region. And our Mildura office covers Mildura, Robinvale, Wentworth and Dareton. Our service delivery in Melbourne and other regions not covered by the 3 regional offices that we have 3 solicitors and 3 paralegal support workers based in our Melbourne office. 1 family lawyer, which is a secondment from Victoria Legal Aid, 1 child protection lawyer, which is funded through the Victorian Government for only 12 months, and 1 family violence solicitor, which is also funded by the Victorian Legal Aid. Our 3 paralegal support workers are funded through the Department of Human Services, and they provide the much needed support to our clients in the Melbourne area. Clearly, with the limited resources we have in each of our regional offices and in Melbourne, we're not able to service the whole state. This is a cause for concern. We have first-hand knowledge of the many barriers which prevent Aboriginal women and children from accessing mainstream services, including racism and discrimination, fear of removal of their children, and mainstream's lack of cultural awareness and sensitivity. We also know that Aboriginal women will not readily seek out legal redress. We do a lot of work in our communities to build trust and confidence, and this is an ongoing process. I will talk shortly about some of the ways in which we do that. Now I'd like to talk a bit about what makes family violence in our communities different to family violence in your communities. There is no single cause of family violence, but in the Aboriginal communities, the high rates of family violence are linked to experiences of marginalisation, disempowerment and racism following white invasion. Aboriginal people were ripped from their traditional lands and forced to live on missions. Aboriginal people were subjected to extreme violence and oppression that often resulted in death. Aboriginal people were ravaged by disease, were subjected to caste counts. Aboriginal women were raped and used as slaves. Aboriginal children were ripped from their mother's arms. Remnants of these past injustices and the failed attempt to destroy our cultural and spiritual identity and our family and community kinships still remain. We see the devastating result of this every day in the work that we do in our communities throughout Victoria. And of course, we witness the same nationally. We see the continued failure of the system to keep our women and children safe. We see the failure of government to adequately resource Aboriginal organisations to resolve our business our way. We see the ongoing disadvantage experienced by Aboriginal women